Why, hello there everyone. I'm Laxow, aka the Kumo Sensei. Minasan, ohayo gozaimasu. Nnyeonghaseyo, bonjour à tous. And today we're going to be pulling another Neoholothele incei Eggsac. And allow me to explain what has happened. This female here has laid her second Eggsac, which is known as double clutching. Now some species and some genuses are known to do this, and this is one of those species. And yes, I only mated her one time. So this is her second Eggsac, and upon opening this Eggsac, the majority of the eggs seem infertile to me, but I put them in the incubator nonetheless to see what will happen in the next couple of days or the next few days to see how many eggs are actually fertile and how many of these eggs are just duds. So I'd say it's about 40% of these eggs look pretty fertile to me, and the rest of them pretty much seems like infertile eggs to me, but let us wait and see, right? Now getting this Eggsac wasn't too difficult. Like I said, as long as you remain calm and don't force yourself onto the female when getting the Eggsac, then usually it's not too difficult. Now this female did retreat further into her burrow with her Eggsac, so I did kind of have to torn open the burrow quite a bit to get it, but either way, this is much more easier than to let the Eggsacs hatch out naturally and to see a bunch of babies everywhere, which then I will have to actually pretty much destroy her entire enclosure if that was the case, which is why I prefer pulling Eggsacs. Just because it saves you the hassle, and also if you have ventilation holes, sometimes the babies can squeeze through and get around, and you don't really want that. And now we're jumping into opening this Eggsac, and yeah, as I stated, when I opened this Eggsac, the eggs looked to me like the majority of them were pretty much infertile, and to be honest, I kind of expected this because this was her second Eggsac, a double clutch, and usually the second Eggsac is not as fertile as the first Eggsac. But I will actually put all of these eggs in the incubator just in case, just to see what happens. But I don't really expect much from these eggs that look infertile to me. But let us wait and see, right? Who knows, I could be wrong. And I would also like to mention that my other female, my second female, the one that we pulled, she also laid an Eggsac again. So that's her second Eggsac, her double clutch to put it simply. So eventually I have to pull that Eggsac as well. And judging from how this one looks, I'm kind of expecting something similar to the other female's Eggsac as well once I pull it, but let us wait and see for that. And I will also do an update on the third female's babies because they pretty much molted into second instar about 2 to 3 days ago, so I will separate them in the future, sometime next week. Maybe I'll make a video on it, so stick around. And yeah, if you want to see them, please stick around till later in this video because I will do an update on them, and the odds were pretty nice, 50-50. Half of them were olive, and half of them are gold. And I also have plans to keeping some of them as well, because I do want to diversify my bloodlines so that way they don't become too inbred, and that's not good if you get inbred tarantulas, so try to spread out the bloodline if possible. So yeah, I'm going to keep a few of them. I don't know exactly how many I'll keep, but let us wait and see. Now granted, in the hobby, the majority of tarantulas at some point came from, one group of parents, I guess. So you could say that a portion, or pretty much the majority of species in the hobby are pretty much inbred to some extent, but that doesn't mean it's okay to inbreed them even more, if you get what I'm saying. So it's good to spread out the bloodlines whenever possible. But anyhow though, now that we're done opening this Eggsac, let us put these eggs in the incubator and then let us get a closer observation on these eggs. And I have to say that the Neoholothele incei has some very thinly wrapped Eggsacs. So honestly, it surprises me at times that the eggs look as good as they are, because typically tarantulas pretty much make thick webbings around their Eggsacs when they create them, just to prevent external factors from affecting their eggs. And since the Neoholothele incei webs a lot, I was actually thinking they was gonna make very thickly webbed Eggsacs, but I guess not. And now that we got these eggs into the incubator, I will have to actually rotate them myself until we get eggs with legs. Then that's when I usually stop. Now if you do pull Eggsacs and they're not eggs with legs yet, then typically you have to do the rotating yourselves. And rotating the eggs really isn't that hard. Just use a paintbrush or anything soft and then just, rotate them yourselves. Now when it comes to frequency on how often you should rotate eggs, it's kind of a debate honestly. Some breeders rotate eggs once every 3 days. Some do it twice a day, which I think is a bit too excessive. And I also seen some tarantula breeders who don't rotate their eggs at all, which is honestly kind of strange, but to each their own I guess. For me, I just rotate eggs once every 1 to 2 days. The one thing I find kind of irritating is that when you do rotate eggs, you have to open the incubator, and when you do, humidity escapes. So typically when I rotate eggs, I try to do it kind of quickly so that way I can pretty much close the incubator and let the humidity build up again. Now eggs are usually pretty hardy in my experience, but I still find it kind of a pain when humidity escapes the incubator whenever I have to rotate eggs. Now as promised, I will show you the third female's babies because half of these are gold and half of these are olive. And honestly, they look really good. Too good. But yeah, it's nice to see these guys healthy and alive. And it's only been 2 to 3 days post-molt since they reached second instar, so the female I've bred was actually an olive form that was het for gold, and the male I used was a gold color form, which is recessive. So in theory, half of these babies should be gold and half of these babies should be olive, and the results look pretty much right about spot on. Half of these offspring are olive and half of these offspring are gold. And as stated before, I do plan on keeping some of these. The majority of these I will keep are going to be the gold color form, which is recessive. Now in terms of the numbers that I'll keep, I don't exactly know how many of these I'll keep because honestly this already looks like too much. Now granted there are dwarf species, they are small still, even as adults, but I can't keep every single one of these because my space is limited and I have to be picky about what I want to keep and what I want to sell, trade, or give away. And I don't think I've mentioned this yet, but the direction I want to take for my tarantula breeding projects is to reach out with the Pamphobedia species and also maybe some of the Vicularia species as well. But the biggest one of all that I really want to tackle is the Asian species, specifically the Asian fossorial species, Chilobrachys, Cyriopagopus, and those in Thailand, Laos, etc. from those areas. So this doesn't mean that I'm giving up on the hobby staples for breeding projects. All I'm saying is that I want to expand my portfolio for tarantula breeding projects, and I think those would be an interesting venture to take. And although I do have experience breeding tarantulas, becoming good at anything is pretty much a never-ending learning process. So no matter how good you get, there's always more to learn, especially in this hobby. And with that, I think I'll end it right about here for today. So without further ado, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe. I upload every single Tuesday and Friday, so please feel free to do so and stick around. Support me on my social media and on Patreon as well. And with that, stay lax and Laxow out from the Kumo Sensei.